Well, hello there. How are you today? Hope you're having a fantastic time in this strange realm we find ourselves in. My name's Campbell. This is Autodidactic 2 and frequency. Frequency is everything. We are frequency. Everything is frequency. And frequency is what ran the old world, the good frequencies. And of course, we find ourselves in a strange realm where this frequency has been changed to frequencies that are not good for us. 5G, 6G, Wi-Fi, all this stuff that's going on, frequency weapons. So let's have a bit of a dive into frequency.
These cymatic plates show you sound in frequency and vibration visualized. You will find these beautiful cymatic patterns represented everywhere, but not just in nature, in the buildings of the old world. The past understood the technology of sound, the benefits of it with healing, the frequency and vibrations all too well. That is why the cathedrals represent them so clearly. These temples and cathedrals were places of sound healing. This is no coincidence. From a people building these magnificent works with just supposed hammer and chisel. Cymatic architecture was at the backbone of all these old world structures, not just in the cathedrals but the star forts as well. They understood how to tap into the natural frequency and vibrations and use them in so many benefits. They were one with this realm around us. To understand the true secrets of this realm, you must think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibrations. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Yes, cymatics. We're going to get into that in this video. And the old, what we're told are cathedrals, temples, churches, all this kind of stuff. They're frequency machines. They're healing machines. They were emitting frequencies that healed the body, the spirit, the mind, and also charged the atmosphere around them, right, with good vibrations, right? Like the Beach Boys told us. And that's why when we are in cathedrals, we see organs, right? Organs, they put out sound, they put out frequencies, and they're good for your organs. Choirs were there as well, right? More sound, the human voice frequency. And then we have the cymatic windows that we see. There's also cymatic patterns in the ceilings and also on the floor. You see them everywhere. And it's interesting that the ceilings of cathedrals are called vaulted ceilings. Vaulted, right? It's just more spell play, more spell magic. Of course, they tell us, volt as in electricity, V-O-L-T, is different to vault as in ceiling, V-A-U-L-T, right? So it's just changing the spelling to confuse us, but they were for healing.
Effect of cymatic frequencies on matter.
Every word you say is a frequency that creates an effect around you. Every time you think, you move, everything you do goes into that central toroidal structure of your atoms. Just to show you the beauty of the human voice. This is the work of John Stuart Reed and his partners and the Cymoscope, just to show you the infinite number of shapes of sound as sound manifests into physical form. Every frequency has its own very specific shape. And there are an infinite number of these. Sound manifests reality. The moment you make a sound, it goes on in three-dimensional, in all space, as a bubble out of your mouth. When you see the three-dimensional bubble cut in half, and you look at the cross-section of it, can you see the cross there in the middle? And you start seeing the inspirations behind the crosses.
Everything owes its existence solely and completely to sound.
And when you drill deeper into some of these images, these cymatic patterns of sound, it becomes even more obvious what these guys knew, because you find this, the cross in a circle, and you realize that this cross in a circle, being the source of sound, was the inspiration for the symbols when they came up with them for the religious denominations, telling us that they actually understand cymatics, they understand source, they understand resonance, and they hid it in the symbols with which they then keep oppressing and enslaving the people.
Look at the patterns. Magnetrons. This is why so many magnificent rose windows resemble cymatic patterns so closely. This is why they look like the petrified pulsations of a star.
Even the medicine wheel in Native American culture is just a cross in a circle, telling us that sound heals. And they're absolutely right, sound does heal. Because if sound is the primary source of all things, we should be able to use sound for everything. And that's exactly what we're dealing with here. Sound levitates, it boils water, it creates light, it creates DNA, it heals, it destroys pathogens. It's the precursor to electromagnetism. This is an important thing. Sound causes electromagnetic effect, not the other way around in the universe. And this is amazing because when all of this starts falling into place, everything can be explained. We can truly start to understand everything about the atomic structure, from the smallest atoms to everything in creation.
Let's see if the door is open. Nobody allowed in there? Nobody's allowed in there now?
No, they have a wedding going on.
Is there any time where public is allowed to come in here?
No, this is not a church. This is not a church.
Oh, it's not a church?
This is an office building for the archdiocese. Office building for the archdiocese.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Yes, the old world was based on frequency, and I forgot to mention bells in the cathedrals as well. But it's not just the cathedrals. If you look around at these old world buildings, so many of them have belfries. You know, they used to have bells in them. They have cymatic windows, and they have these cymatic shapes on the floors and the ceilings. That was everywhere through the old world. And we've all heard about the tuning, right? The musical tuning that went from 432 to 440, from a frequency that charged us in a good way and healed us and gave us energy, to one that takes away, right? And, you know, you can see this just with cymatics. If you play, you know, like heavy metal, you will get this distorted pattern. If you play something like Baroque music, you know, classical music, you will get these perfect cymatic shapes pop up. So they knew it was all frequency, and this is the invasion, right? It's the frequency invasion, the L grid, this closed circuit, electric circuit. This is what the overlay is. But the old world ran on natural earth frequencies. They were all aligned and tuned in to the natural frequencies, which is what we are. So it was just enhancing and amplifying our true nature. And that's what they didn't want, because people who are free, who are healthy, who are, safe as well, because frequency, they say the bells used to keep trolls away, and people like this who are using this and are in this state are very hard to control. So that's why that all had to go. And by the way, guys, do you like my hat? This was sent to me by Rocktops, ROCKTOPZ on Instagram, and you can go and get your own if you like. I'm not getting anything out of this, but they sent me this hat. Well, they sent me a couple of hats and some gloves too. So I'll leave the link below. Go and check them out if you want to look as cool as I do.
Nobody is ready for this one. This probably looks familiar. It probably looks like these cymatic patterns that I talk about all the fucking time. And all these things is a petri dish on top of a speaker and a light on top of it, making these cool mandala-like patterns. Now this man made one of them in a 3D design software and took cross sections of it and put different colors to those cross sections. So using a 3D cymatic pattern, this man was able to create a perfect image using sound and light. I want you to sit and really think about this, because this is the code to reality. This is the code to the matrix, or whatever you want to call it. This is how energy interacts with itself to create everything that you see. This is why cymatics and sound is so important. Vibration in general. It's all waves. And that's how we make sense of it.
Wow. Did you see that? That face? I mean, that proof, right? You are frequency. We're all a unique frequency. We all have a unique sound, and that frequency makes up our bodies, right? It shows us what matters, right? It makes up the matter, the physical world, but it's all frequency underneath. And this is why everyone's different, right? Because the frequency is slightly different in everyone. So you are frequency, and frequency is what heals, what will make you stronger. It will improve your mental state, your emotional state, everything. And there are so many ways to do this. There's healing bowls, there is frequency generators, there's tuning forks, there's just good music, right? Classical music, all this stuff. It's frequency and it's good for you. And while you're here, if you do like this video, please do give me a like, leave me a comment. And of course, if you're not subscribed, what the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you'll be notified of future uploads, and share this around. Let's get this information out there. And let's try and get to 2,000 likes on this video. I've got up to, I think, 1,700's the top one at the moment. So let's go for 2,000. All right, back into it.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being by him, and apart from him nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it.
In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning was the frequency, right? The building blocks of the reality that we find ourselves in. And that's obviously from the Bible. The he bit, definitely don't agree with that. I don't think that God is a dude with a beard sitting on a cloud. God is a frequency, or the creator, I would rather call it, is a frequency, right? As we've seen, it's the word, it's the sound, it's the frequency that everything is based on, that everything is made of. And of course, all religions that they've changed all the wording, all the words and everything, but there's still some gems in there, and they are telling us that in the beginning there was nothing, and then there was a sound, and that created everything, because everything is frequency.
Everything they told you about these cathedrals is a complete lie. These were not places of worship, and they were never built or designed to be a church. These were healing centers. But how do these centers actually heal you? Through light and geometry. Now let me explain. If I shine a light through a geometric pattern, this pattern represents a specific frequency. This is what you call cymatics. Every frequency has its own sacred geometric pattern. So when you shine a light through this medium, it changes the frequency and becomes that cymatic pattern. Plus, the colored stained windows, right? Red, blue, purple. This is light therapy. When you shine light rays through a specific color, it blocks out all of the other colors and only lets through the red light, for example, if it goes through the red. So this is allowing red, blue, and purple through. And what this does is have healing effects on the human body and the biofield. So all of this was technology. This is why when you walk inside of these places, you feel high energy, you feel different.
Yeah, and I think that's why, they've marked these buildings, at least the big cathedral ones, right, as churches, right, or temples. And of course, our temple is here, right? The temple is your mind, your head, basically, a part of your head. It's not something you can walk into. It's not a building, but that they designate them as religion because, they're telling us half the story, right? It is. It's where you get close to the creator, but you're getting close to the creator energy, right? You're not getting close to some dude floating on a cloud, right? And in the old days, you didn't have to pay to get in there. You didn't have to sit down and listen to the man in the dress tell you how you should interpret the teachings in these books. So it's all been, subverted and inverted. But as he talked about, it's frequency. See, frequency is everything. It has all these different expressions. It has shapes like the cymatics we saw, and a cymatic is just when you play a tune, a frequency, through something like water or a drum skin with salt on it, and as you play that, the water or the salt or whatever you put on the skin creates this geometric pattern. That's what a cymatic is, and so frequency is it's a cymatic pattern, right? Geometry, it's color. It's sound as well, all these different expressions. And this is what we see in the old world, right? We see the cymatic windows with their colored, stained glass. We see the organs and the choirs and the bells and all this stuff. It's all the different expressions of a certain frequency that is good for us. And again, this is how they invaded us, right? They took away the good frequencies and replaced them with the crap, the minutia, the sound frequency radiation that we are swamped with today.
What if I told you that the energy that they are making each and every one of us pay for is free energy? The truth is hidden in plain sight. Is this a cathedral or a cathedral? You tell me. A cathode is a type of electrode in which electrons move. Electrodes are a semiconductor, which are usually metal, and they are connected to something that is not metal. A cathode delivers electrons, which is a negative charge, and an anode collects the electrons that have a positive charge. Diving into these anodes, an anode is the foundation of the megatron circuit. It generally consists of an even number of microwave cavities arranged in a radial fashion as shown. There are 3 possible anode configurations. And would you look at that? What do those remind you of? Those look extremely similar to... Oh yeah, those stained glasses that are in the front of every single old cathedral. When you look at all these old cathedrals, you start connecting the dots. You see that they have these anodes and cathodes everywhere you look. They have been hiding this technology from us and forcing us to pay for free energy. Even their door structures collected energy. Now that we know about these anode and cathodes, take a look at what our power plants have. Oh, an anode and a cathode. And they are making us pay for this free energy. And now that we know what an anode and a cathode is, we can look at every single power plant and realize that we are being fooled and bamboozled into paying for free energy. They are making us pay for something that they are getting for free. And these huge fractal stained glass patterns that you see in the church are actually what pulls in the ether for the anode and cathode to generate this free energy. And it's been right in front of our face this whole time.
Yeah, the cathode rail. Yep. So many of these old cathedrals and buildings have twin spires, right? And it's interesting because we all know what happened in 2001, right? When they fell. And it just makes me wonder, was that a frequency event? Because as we know, all they just crumbled to dust, right? And frequency can do that. So something to think about. But again, these were all made to heal, and energy is free. It's free from the ether. We're surrounded by it, by natural energies that can be collected and used for power. And they've built this grid system. And I agree with what he said, that they're not creating the energy. They're just using tools that they understand to get free energy from the ether and run it down lines and charge us for it. It's a big scam, but the gig is up. This is all coming out. And I've said it before, we already have all the answers. They're actually all around us. And as, people become more aware and we move into the positive charge, then this is all going to come back again. And we can start getting these things back online. We just have to replace the components that they've ripped off them all, right, to stop them working. And it's there. It's all there. The new world is the old world.
And you look into the center, and in the center see a glowing blue-purple light, which could be seen with the unaided eye. It looked like a star in the heavens.
Seth Putterman called it the star in a jar, a tiny spot of bright light contained in a flask of liquid. This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star.
Star in a jar. What are stars? Stars used to be called luminaries, which just means light, basically, things that give off light. And that was in water. And I don't believe in space, because of many, many reasons, mainly because you can't have an enclosed pressurized system next to a vacuum without a barrier. That's fundamental science, right? But they forget that bit. So is space the ocean? Is space water? It would make sense, right? When we've seen this, because water with frequency pass through it, like they said, if there's a bubble in there, it becomes a luminary, it becomes a star. So this is all around us. We just have to see it. We just have to look with different eyes and, stop believing what we're told by academics and experts, right? Because it's all BS. None of it's true, none of it's provable, but they have everyone believing it's true because they said so. But who are they? They are the Elites, right? Maybe we should call them the El Darks. And everything they do is against us. They poison everything, right? They make us work, they tax us, blah, 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 blah. And people still believe what they say, what they tell us, the experts. It does my head in. But anyway, let me know what you think on all of these videos. Please leave me comments. But what do you think space is? What do you think stars or the luminaries are? Well, that is a star, a close-up star, right? They don't look like that when we're just looking at the sky through our eyes, but you zoom in on them with a telephoto lens and you will see they are cymatic patterns. And this is why things like horoscopes work, right? Because they're giving out certain frequencies. That's why frequencies change. There's different energies that happen that affect people at different times. It's to do with the movement of the luminaries, which are fractal patterns, which are a frequency, right? This is how it works. And of course, we're told, by mainstream at least, that all that stuff is just silly, right? It doesn't, it's just, it doesn't exist, basically, is what they tell us, because they don't want us to understand that the ether exists, which once we do that, once we understand that, we understand everything is frequency, right? And we can change frequency, we can enhance frequencies. And once we've got that, we've got the power back. And that is not what they want. They want us to remain powerless. That way they stay in power. But they're fighting a losing battle because frequency moves in sine waves, right? Waves, just like the ocean, just like all this stuff. And so we're coming out of a negative, we're going up to the top of the sine wave into a positive charge. And that's going to change everything, and that can't be stopped. But these allies are doing their damnedest to stop it and to keep us in a low frequency. That's what all this stuff is about. All the 5G, all the Wi-Fi, all the negative news that we're getting, all the over information, is that what I call it? Like there's so much information, but not much wisdom. This is what they want, right? But like I said, we've got all the answers, and all we need to do is tune in, right? Get a tune up, tune in. And this is all through, frequency languages or terms are all through our language. Like, they're not on my level. I just synced with them. Tune in, all these different types of things. If you've got more, leave them down below because there's a lot more. Give me a comment. But this is it. We are frequency. We're created by frequency. We're surrounded by frequency. And frequency is what affects us. So when we change that, we get a different effect, right? We become something different. We see further. We are healthier. We are more powerful. All the answers, in my opinion, lie in frequency and vibration. And isn't that what Tesla said, right? If you want to understand the universe, think in the terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. That's what Tesla said. And, was he a real person or not? I don't know. Let's not get into that conversation now. But that's a true statement. And the other thing I'll just mention is stars, right? One of my favorite topics, star forts. Right? I just call them stars because they're not forts. They're not made for war and killing. They were made for the exact opposite. That's the inversion. They were made for amplifying good frequency because all star forts are cymatic shapes. Right? They're just mirroring the energy that of the point that they're on, and they're amplifying it. That's why they were attached to all the old world cities, right? It was part of the macro system that we used to have, which ran on earth energies, right? The macro system, not the micro L system, not electronic circuits. That's what is distorting everything. We need to get back to the old ways.
In 1920, the first patent was filed for a little-known concept called Electroculture, a simple method of boosting plant growth that could single-handedly end world hunger. This little system was successfully tested all over the world, harnessing the atmospheric free energy that's all around us. These methods proved to increase yields by up to 300% and eventually eliminate the need for toxic pesticides and fertilizers. The only problem was electroculture never made it into the school books. Fast forward to 2023. It was only a matter of time before this revolutionary concept bubbled back to the surface and took its roots once again.
If we were using electroculture and understanding everything is frequency and harmony and balance, then we could have as much food as we want. It's like we can have an abundance. When they tell you that there's a food shortage, they're just making stuff up
war in Ukraine,
so they can put you into fear. But basically what you're doing is you're creating an atmospheric antenna to harness the energy of the earth so that you can boost your soil and your plants. You'll start to notice you'll have more bees, you'll have more birds, and you won't have to use pesticides, you won't have to use fertilizers. What you're doing is you're bringing back the electrical charge. So we are electrical beings, and these plants are also, our beautiful plants here are also electrical beings.
Electroculture, have you tried it? Let me know in the comments. What were your results? But it's the same thing, right? Everything is frequency. So there's a bit of a theme you might be picking up in this video, and I'm just trying to hammer home the point that everything is frequency. Everything responds to frequency. The old world was built around frequency, and this is the distortion. This is the takeover, is getting rid of that frequency. We've all seen the pictures of all the bells they took out and melted down. Healing bells that they then turned into, at least they tell us, into bullets. Right? So again, something that healed us and gave life, they turn into something that is about death and can kill us, like the inversion. But it's everything, everything. They're just lowering our frequency as much as they can to make us more controllable. And also, just so that we don't know what's going on. We don't understand how this place works and who we are. It's all a scam though. But like I've said before, they have lost. Right? It's just a matter of time. But we do need to learn this information, because it's the old world tech, but it's the new world tech too. You know, things like orgonite, electroculture, tensor tools, all this kind of stuff, copper, metals, cymatics, windows, all this stuff, right? The voice, good music, good tunes, good harmony, right? There's another one for you, harmony, harmonics. Right? When you play a good harmony in music, it brings everything into harmony.
You know what's crazy? They told us that this was just about tuning instruments, but nobody told us this was actually made to tune you. The first time I used this, it felt like my whole nervous system hit a reset. My chest opened up. My brain slowed down. It was like peace finally had sound. And when you press it against your body, that vibration, it goes deeper than medication. It's like your cells remember balance. Your whole body remembers what calm feels like. So listen, if you've been fighting stress, if your sleep has been off, if you're tired of feeling disconnected from yourself, don't sleep on this. This is the one tool that you didn't know you need. And once you try it, there's no going back.
Tuning forks, another way to tune in. And I have many tuning forks. Here's one pack of them. I'm sure I can show you, but basically there's one, right? These also you can use. Oh, they've actually got little swingy bits on them, but you probably won't be able to hear them. Yeah, there's a whole pack of them here. Just one of my many packs of tuning forks. And if you're interested in tuning forks, you'll actually find a link below. And there's a discount code as well. You can go and grab your own and start tuning in, start healing yourself with real frequencies, right? So that's there for you. Also, you know, if you're after a cool hat like mine, I'll leave that link below as well, so you can go check that out. But there we go, guys. Thanks for tuning in, right? Spending some time with me. And everything is frequency. Like I said, we already have all the answers. They're all around us. We just need to be aware of them. So thanks for spending some time with me. Have an amazing day and stay awesome, because you are. And I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
I believe I'm whole, I don't need to heal. I believe I'm rich, it's
already real. I believe